Hey guys, welcome to my first YouTube video. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Yasmin, I'm 17 years old, and I'm very worried that this video is gonna be way too long, but we'll see how it goes. So if you guys are already following me on Instagram, then you would know that I joined a sorority in my freshman year at Mcgill University, and anytime that I've mentioned that I'm in a sorority, I've literally gotten a million questions on what it's about and how recruitment process was and how rush week was and all of that. So I decided I'd make a video explaining how the recruitment process was and how my experience was and all of that jazz. So for those of you who don't know, a sorority is a society of female students in a university or college, typically for social purposes. So in general, like sororities and frats and Greek life, they're all about like charity and bettering the community and networking and, like I said, social purposes. And something that I think makes the Greek life so unique is that a lot of the sororities and frats actually date back decades or more than a century ago, and so for that reason they all have specific traditions and morals, and everyone that's ever been in or is in or will be in that sorority shares the same morals and follows all these traditions. And I don't know, I think that makes it really special. In my sorority specifically, I've been like trying to like rep it. I'm in Alpha Omicron Pi. So the sorority that I'm in has been established since 1987. No, 1897. I should have known that. But that's literally like more than 120 years ago. So that's kind of crazy to me. So first I'm gonna start off with a little backstory on why I wanted to join a sorority. So I was raised in the United Arab Emirates, and I've lived there literally my entire life, and I've been to the same school my entire life. So all my friends back home, I literally consider them family because we all grew up together and we were all raised together, and we were all each other's first friends, and we have a really special bond. And since I decided to move away for university, and it's literally on the other side of the earth, I wanted a home away from home, and I wanted a smaller community in Mcgill. Like I remember actually having this discussion with my sister that Mcgill has 45,000 students, so I was very worried about not being able to find that smaller community, and she actually suggested to me that I should be joining a sorority, which is funny because I didn't even know they existed in Mcgill. I didn't even know they existed in Canada, but well, they do. So once I found out that there were sororities at Mcgill, I actually got super excited and I really wanted to join one, but I still had no idea what they were about. I had no idea what they do. All I knew was the stereotypical things that everyone thinks about sororities and frats. But I still decided to go to recruitment because I knew that I would learn so much more about sororities and Greek life there. And for those of you who don't know, recruitment is basically rush week, and this is the week that you get to know all the sororities and all the sororities get to know you. This is where you learn so much about them and they also learn so much about you. So it's like completely fine if you go in not knowing what they are, because you learn as you go, and from this and like throughout this week you'll be able to make a decision on whether or not this is something that you want to pursue, like a sorority is something that you want to join. But the reason that this is kind of different is because it's not like a club where if you want to be in it then you can join it. It's based on mutual selection, so that's why there's like a whole week or two dedicated just for recruitment, so you can get to know the girls, they can get to know you, and in the end of the day it's, like I said, based on mutual selection. So I went into orientation the first day. I literally didn't know what to expect at all. So literally the first thing that happens at orientation is that you get assigned to a group with a recruitment counselor. The reason that this is because recruitment is a very hectic and stressful process, so it's just so much easier if you have your own little group and to have a recruitment counselor. And basically your RC, it's they're literally like your lifesavers. They're gonna make this process so much easier for you, number one. Number two, they are your recruitment counselors, so they will advise you every single step of the way. Like, anytime you're a little bit hesitant about anything, literally always go to your RC. Basically, who they are, they're members of the existing sororities, but they're completely unbiased and you have no idea what sorority that they're in. So it's not like having them as your RC could influence your decision in any way. During orientation, everyone was just seated in the middle, and then there were all the 5 sororities like at the corners or on the sides of the hall. So on orientation, you will get the chance to meet all of the sororities, and it's not like you're gonna make your decision on the first day and know exactly who you want, but it's just kind of like for you to get a feel, like get a vibe of the room, you know, especially if you go in like not knowing what it is, not knowing if you even want to join it. You just start to get more of an idea of what it's really about and what sororities are like, what sorority girls are really like, and are they a group of people that you want to be a part of. You're probably only gonna get to talk to 1 or 2 members of every sorority during orientation, so make sure you don't form any harsh opinions straight away, because remember that 1 or 2 girls won't represent the entire sorority. So just keep an open mind. So after orientation, you have round 1, and during round 1 you go to every single one of the sorority houses and you talk to all of the girls, not all of the girls, but you talk to a lot of the girls, and it's kind of like speed dating. So like I said, it's based on mutual selection, so they want to get to know you as much as you want to get to know them. So be prepared with a lot of answers. You are going to be asked a lot of questions. Like, you're going to be talking about yourself so much that you're going to be so sick of talking about yourself by the end of the week. A question that you're literally always going to get asked and you always need to have an answer prepared for is, why do you want to join a sorority? Something that you learn along the way is that being in a sorority is a huge time commitment and financial commitment actually. So for this reason, if you really do want to join a sorority and you know you're going to be committed to it, then you need to learn as much as you possibly can. You need to get every information you possibly can from the girls that you talk to about the sorority to make the right decision, because it is a big decision. So although you have to come with answers prepared, you also need to come with a lot of questions prepared. In my opinion, like personally what I did for round 1, I kind of focused more on the vibe of the girls and the vibe of the sorority more than like philanthropy and pricing and all of that, because round 1 is the first round where you have to start ranking your sororities, like I said, because it's mutual selection. So I wanted to know more of the bond between the girls, and so something that I literally always asked was, what are your favorite memories? How do you feel like being in a sorority benefited you? How do you feel like it shaped your university experience, etc., etc. And don't be shy to ask questions. Literally, remember, so many people go in not knowing anything about sororities, and the girls know that, so they're happy to answer all your questions. So like I said, this is the first day where you're going to be ranking. So what happened with us is that everyone went back to the gym. Everyone got like a little piece of paper and you had to rank your sorority. This ranking process was fairly easy because you're just ranking them in order based on who you vibed with or who you liked the most. And because there are 5 sororities and you're just dropping 1, the process is fairly easy. After round 1, you get cut 1 sorority because you're ranking. And I mean, if you really feel like you didn't vibe with one of them and you ranked them the lowest and they probably ranked you low, so I mean, you get cut that sorority. So for me, after round 1, I instantly knew my top 3 sororities and I knew which ones I vibed with the most. And I got cut my last 2, which were my lowest ranked, and I was fine with that. It's not because I didn't like the last 2. On the contrary, they were so nice and so genuine, but there was just no connection, you know. And I think that's the really good thing about round 1, is because you get to talk to so many more girls and the conversations are a bit more about you and about them. So there is a possibility for you to see whether or not you do vibe. I mean, especially after round 1, because you are getting to know more of the girls and they're getting to know you a bit better, it's easy to spot a connection because you can't fake a vibe, you can't fake a connection, you know. So round 2 is kind of like round 1. It is more of like the speed dating, and you are getting to talk to more girls. The thing about round 2 is that this is where you start to learn about pricing, about what the sorority is more about, like their philanthropy, the things that they do, their president, their different positions, a bunch of things like that. This is why I would advise you that round 1 you kind of make it more intimate, ask more questions about their personal experiences in the sorority rather than general questions about the sorority, because in round 2 where your choices are narrowed and it's getting more realistic, then you can make your decision. Then it's more important to learn about like pricing and like what they do, their morale and all of that. Personally, I find ranking after this round somewhat a bit harder, but not too hard, compared to round 1, because round 1 for me, I kind of made it more intimate to know the girls more, so I could easily spot who I vibed with. But for round 2, it was a bit harder because I'm learning more about the specific sororities themselves and what they're about and what they do. And what makes it a bit harder to rank is when you don't know what you're looking for. So that's the thing about recruitment, is that you need to know what you're looking for. So if you're going in solely for the purpose of making friends, that's completely fine, but then you need to focus on the connection, the vibe, what group of people do you think you would fit in with the most? From all the sororities that you like, each one is gonna have their strengths, but you need to find which one is unique to you, which one stands out to you, and which one is the most important to you. Even if you like them all, you have to prioritize what you're looking for, and then it's just gonna make it so much easier for you during the ranking process. So after round 2, there's the final round before you find out which sorority you're in, and that's preference night. And waiting for the email to find out which 2 sororities I had left to go to their houses for preference night was so stressful. So many people I know were having expectations on which houses they were gonna get invited back to for preference night, like for their last 2 houses, so basically their last 2 options. And because they ended up getting disappointed, they dropped. And I understand it to a certain extent, because if there was one sorority that you really, really liked and you really wanted to be a part of, and you didn't really like the others, then it makes sense if you want to drop, because it is a huge commitment in terms of time and money. But if you still do like the other sororities that you visited, even if you got cut from your number 1 choice, my advice is go to preference night, because preference night is so much more intimate. Because it's so much more intimate, you really are gonna end up having kind of a different perspective on the sorority houses that you visit. Another reason I would advise you to continue to go through with recruitment even if you got dropped your first choice is because after talking to one of my RCs more about the recruitment process, what she explained to me was that this process is so perfected that you will end up with a sorority that's right for you. So even though you really think that you vibed with a sorority and you really like them but they dropped you, it doesn't necessarily mean that they don't like you. It just means that they know you would fit better in another sorority. So it's not something you should worry too much about. Like, it's okay, you should just keep going with it. In the end of the day, if you really didn't like any of the sororities after prep night, then you could drop, but you should go to prep night because it will change your perspective. For me, when I got my email with my last 2 sororities, I kind of knew which one I would already end up picking, but it was just a feeling at the start. So I went into preference night with like a mindset that, you know what, I know which sorority I'm gonna pick, and then by the end of the night, I literally had no idea what I was gonna do. I was just I was kind of all over the place, like emotionally, because like I said, it was so much more intimate. So like you really do kind of have a different connection with the girls. It's not like the other rounds where you feel like you're speed dating them and you're just like talking and trying to get every information possible that you can get out of them, and they're trying to get every information possible that they can get out of you. Although I love both sororities so much and I kind of knew which one I already wanted, like I said, each one has their strengths and you really just have to prioritize what you're looking for. So for me, that's like that's all it was. I just kind of needed to get my head together, you know, prioritize what I wanted, and at the end of the day, I stuck to what I originally wanted, and I stuck to the original sorority that I wanted, and that's the one I ended up in. So I'm happy about that. Basically, the way that the ranking works in this round, you have your two sororities and you rank your top choice and then your second choice, and if your top choice wants you, you end up in that one. If they don't want you but your second choice wants you, you end up in that one. And if none of them want you, then you end up without a sorority. But if there was only one out of the two sororities that you really wanted to be a part of, and the only way you would join a sorority is if you were in that one, then you would do something called a suicide, where you would only write down that one sorority, and you don't have like a second chance during this rush week to join another sorority. You would have to wait until the next recruitment, which is in like winter or fall. So because I like both the sororities, I didn't decide to suicide, but I did have my top choice. And basically, if you do decide to have both choices, then you need to sign a contract saying that you're gonna be fine and you won't back out no matter what sorority you end up. So this is why this night was so stressful, because you're making a big decision. So since it was like officially the end of recruitment, all there was to do left was wait to find out what sorority you're in. So that's on bid day. So basically bid day was the next day, and we're all finding out what sororities we're in. So it was literally just like a huge group of girls with our envelopes and our names on it, and then there were like 5 huge groups of sororities, and it was like basically each one of the different sororities, and they were like waiting for us to open our envelopes so we can like find out who we're with. And before all of that happened, we had our RCs expose themselves basically and reveal which sorority they're really in, because like I said, they are active members of sororities, but we just don't know which ones, because it like helps avoid being biased and all of that. So while everything was happening, I was really trying to figure out which sorority I was in, and while I was doing that, I actually met this girl named Wendy, and Wendy was literally one of the sweetest girls ever. So basically she ended up suiciding aoii, and so she already knew that she was an aoii, and then I was trying to figure out which one I was in. So I was trying to like put my envelope up to the sun and look through it, and then I realized that my envelope was kind of bumpy, and then she realized that her envelope is kind of bumpy. So I was like, she suicided aoii, so she's getting aoii, and our envelopes kind of feel the same. So I kind of already knew that I was an aoii, but I didn't want to get too excited because I like needed to open the envelope and just 100% make sure. And then it was literally at that moment, it was the moment that I opened the envelope, I saw that I was an aoii. Like, it wasn't even purposely, but I just started screaming, and I ran to them, and I was just hugging them, and I was so excited, and I was jumping up and down. It was that moment that I knew that I made the right decision, and I was more than happy, and I was so happy, because I knew that it was gonna be, that these girls were gonna be my sisters literally for a lifetime. And even though I didn't know a lot of them at that point, all that excitement between the both of us from both sides, it felt so genuine. Everyone was so genuine and welcoming, and it's genuinely because they're excited to have a new member of the family, because the new members are kind of like the little babies, you know. And that's what I think is the most amazing part of it all. Like, that entire week of insane stress is all so worth it for that one moment, for that one feeling, you know, where you literally feel like you're home, you're with your sisters, you know. It's literally a home away from home. That's probably one of my best memories. Like, I don't think anything can compare to that feeling that I had with my sisters that day. After finding out what sorority I was in, we all went back to the house and had a little like wholesome day with the sisters. It was actually really funny because I kept going like, "Hi, nice to meet you," and then they were like,
"We already met like a few times,"
and I'm like, "Oh, my bad." But like, it's normal because you meet so many people, you meet so many new faces, you're definitely gonna forget them. So that was my recruitment experience, but I'm just gonna leave you guys off with a few tips that I learned throughout the process. Like, first of all, this is something that goes without being said, but be yourself. Don't alter some parts of your personality to get into a specific sorority, because you're gonna end up in a group that you're not meant to be with, and in turn you might not be happy with them. If you're like faking parts of your personality, you have to be faking parts of yourself all the time. You won't be who you really are. You won't be happy. Don't be too stressed about impressing the other sororities. It's funny, like, now being in a sorority and having been on the other side of recruitment now, realize how ironic the whole process is, because when you're rushing, you think that you're trying to impress the sorority, but when you're in the sorority and you're recruiting, you realize you're trying to impress everyone that's coming into your house. And I don't know, I just find that really funny. So again, don't worry too much about it. I know this week is really such a stressful week, but you know what, it's what you make out of it, and you have to go in with a positive mindset. Like, yeah, it's stressful, but in the end of the day, it's really worth it, because you're gonna find that family, you're gonna find that community. And it's, like I said, it was one of the most amazing feelings when I opened my card on bid day and saw that I was in aoii. Like, my heart was bursting with happiness, and I'm not even like just saying that just to say,
oh my god, like, I love my sisters.
Like I genuinely love every single one of them. I don't know, I just think it's really great, and I hope you guys get to experience the same thing too. Try to ignore everything that you hear online or all the stereotypes that you hear. Like, I perfectly remember on pref night, I was with my RC group, and the dress code was cocktail dresses, so everyone was like in dresses and heels and looked very nice, and we we're all so excited. And then we literally had so many students come up to us and just be like, oh, what is this for? And when we'd say,
oh, sorority recruitment,
they'd be like, oh, like like, people are just gonna give you their opinions whether you ask for it or not. And like, you just have to ignore it. Like, ignore what you hear about the sororities. If someone says, oh, this is a studying sorority, this is a party sorority, or whatever, you have to ignore that. Every single sorority has something unique to them, and each sorority is a whole group of girls. And although all these girls are like-minded, each person is different. You can't necessarily characterize someone based on what sorority they're in, you know what I mean? So my last tip and the end of this video is bring gum. You are going to be talking about yourself so much, and you're going to be talking non-stop. Literally, it's gonna feel like hours, because like, let's say you go into a sorority house for like 20 minutes and you're like speed dating, so you're just like talking so much about yourself. And then you go to another house and then you're just talking so much about yourself. So first of all, it's better for you because you'll feel like minty fresh and you'll be like more comfortable. And second, you don't want to kill the other person. So that's it for my first YouTube video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys found it useful. If anyone is thinking about joining a sorority, feel free to like message me on Instagram. My Insta handle is in the description box below. If you are looking for a home away from home and a smaller tight-knit community, I would highly encourage you to think about rushing. Personally, I've been having such a great experience, and I'm really happy in my sorority. In my sorority. I've just been repping this whole video. But yeah, if you guys ever want me to do any more sorority related videos, let me know in the comments, and I'd be more than happy to do that. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I will see you guys next week.